Welcome to the first recording of our Friends of the EPIC Network webinar series. To improve the support provided to EPIC and member programs, we're now producing a series of interviews of friends of the network. These friends may be leaders in local communities, national organizations, sometimes they'll have specific resources to offer the network, or they might be individuals with interesting stories that might inspire us to do more. Recordings of these webinars and interviews will be shared on the EPIC Network Commons for our member programs to view, and we might be posting them in the future to our website and our YouTube channel in future months to build awareness of both our organization and our friends. In the short term, to gain access to the Friends of the Network interview series, join as an EPIC member program. Details can be found on our website and also by contacting me. Our contact information will be at the end of the presentation. This presentation is provided by our member programs, the Ford Foundation, and the William and Flora Hewitt Foundation. This work wouldn't be possible without their support. Let me get on to introducing our speaker for today and the friend of the network from the Thriving Earth Exchange, which is a program out of the AGU. And Melissa's organization is Thriving Earth Exchange, and she's the program manager of the organization and the organization is a multi-member collaborative launched by the American Geophysical Union. Melissa will share some answers to questions that I've posed to her so she can help us understand how their work supports community-driven projects where communities and scientists work together to advance local priorities relating to climate change, natural hazards, and natural resources. During the presentation, Melissa will highlight ways in which Thriving Earth Exchange and EPIC Network programs can support one another as well. And through the process, we hope that you'll get to know a little bit more about Melissa so you can feel comfortable reaching out to her if you have questions in the future. She's been with the Thriving Earth Exchange for how many years, Melissa?
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years, and she's been leading, again, the Thriving Earth Exchange, a US-based project management and volunteer engagement program, including managing the Community Science Fellowship Program. She's a certified project management professional and holds a MS in Environmental Sciences and Policy with a focus in energy and climate change from Johns Hopkins University and a BS in Chemistry and Environment Science from the College of William and Mary. So we're very thankful that she's going to spend some time answering some questions with us and lending her expertise to support the network. So thanks, Melissa. Let's get started with
Thank you, Marshall.
What is the Thriving Earth Exchange?
Yeah, so Thriving Earth Exchange is a program at AGU, like you mentioned, where communities and scientists work together to use science to advance community priorities. So what that looks like, to be a bit more specific, is that we launch and support collaborative projects between communities and scientists. Our projects can last anywhere between about 6 to 18 months, depending on the project. It's free to communities to participate, and these projects are driven through volunteer effort with no funding applied or supplied. And our goal in these projects is to achieve impact in those communities. And this impact is desired and designed by community, and we think that science is important but not sufficient, and really work to elevate community voices and priorities through our work. A typical life cycle of a project that we support is that, well, first a community comes to us and says they want to do a project. We then connect that community to a dedicated community science fellow. This person functions very much like a project manager for them. They then scope a project that uses science to advance community priorities. They match the community to a volunteer scientist who's a good fit for the project and for the community. They then do the project, and then finally we share the project results, outputs, and lessons learned, and the story behind them. Because our projects are driven by community priorities, they are as diverse as the communities that inspire them. And because we're an AGU program, the themes that our projects address revolve around climate change, natural hazards, natural resources, sustainability, and environmental health, really broad. The screen in front of you shows a few images of some of our projects, and if you go to our website, you can see many more and read about them and the great work that they're doing. But Thriving Earth Exchange is much more than just individual projects. We really work to help elevate the profile of our community stories within the scientific community. We try to hone best practices and capture lessons learned. We really want every project to benefit from those that came before them. And we're cultivating a collaborative and mutually supportive network of volunteers who value this kind of work. And then finally, leading culture change within the geosciences. Something that Thriving Earth Exchange really wants to see is that community science and community engagement is becomes as mainstream as publishing and academic conferences within the scientific community.
Thanks, Melissa. What is your role at Thriving Earth Exchange?
So we are a small team of 4 currently, soon to be 5. And my role is, I have a few roles. One is to directly manage community science projects. I have about 8 currently in my portfolio. I manage our community science fellowship program. I lead our community-based onboarding and project development with external partners, and maintain our project tracking and operational infrastructure.
So you're doing a lot, it sounds like.
A lot. We're all doing a lot, but it's fun and exciting work, very dynamic, super iterative.
Nice.
My job changes every month.
Oops, got ahead of myself. How do you see the Thriving Earth Exchange supporting local EPIC N programs? This is something you and I have talked a lot about, and something that I wanted to make sure I called out before you answer, that because we realize that EPIC programs have a lot on their plate and Thriving Earth Exchange has a lot on their plate, we wanted to spend time before we got to this presentation narrowing down and learning about each other's programs on how we think they could work together. So as you respond to this, and as you're listening to this, participants, we want you to know that Melissa and I have been thinking about this a lot and thinking about where exactly and most easily do our programs fit together, in hopes of streamlining your participation and maybe offering a bigger and better way for you to offer resources to your communities, or not a better way, but just add another tool into your toolbox to offer to the community. So yeah, Melissa, how do you think that our 2 organizations can work together?
Yeah, so from our conversations that we've had, it's become really apparent to me that our programs are fundamentally super well aligned to one another. We both provide frameworks for partnership between scientists and communities, ultimately looking to serve community, but we do that slightly differently. And I think that leaves a lot of room to supplement and build on and support one another's work, like you just highlighted. So I think the bottom line is that Thriving Earth Exchange can be an additional tool or resource for local EPIC N programs. We can help meet community needs that maybe lay outside the scope of your collaboration, or work with the community to build on your collaboration after it completes. What you can do is, and this is a U to the EPIC N network, add Thriving Earth Exchange as a friendly connector to your toolbox of resources that you provide to your city contacts. If the community wants to work with Thriving Earth Exchange, we can work to align our work with them with the pre-existing community university program that already exists. We also can be another avenue to help share and elevate your stories and expand the impact of your work. You do this already through EPIC N. Thriving Earth Exchange can be another mouthpiece for that. You guys, you and your community partners are doing community science, and we want to hear about it and share what you're doing. And if you produce something that other communities might want to know about or try to replicate or adapt, let us know, and we can work with Marshall and the other folks at EPIC N to get it out there. And then finally, the EPIC N program has a lot of resources for its members, and Thriving Earth Exchange has our own that we can supplement. We have guides and questionnaires that we've developed that have proven to be very useful for developing really productive conversations to get a collaboration started. We'd be happy to share those with you. And we also have workshops that introduce and expose and kind of train people in community science. And so at your university, if you're trying to get more people involved and excited by community science, let us know, and maybe we can help you do that.
Yeah, that's really intriguing to me. A lot of our programs have projects that are focused on community science or GIS or geography, or the things that are really represented well in the AGU. And when they start those projects, it might be really helpful to have a workshop with those stakeholders in that community that might be facilitated or better facilitated by Thriving Earth Exchange. Additional people at the table, additional resource and expertise at the table. It still fits the EPIC model and could also really elevate those projects that are focused in those areas. And also, I want to come back to what you said, Melissa, that we think when you're having that exit conversation with your community partners, EPIC programs, that's who I'm talking to now,
Mhm.
that if you have that conversation and there's one or two projects that you weren't able to facilitate or that came out of the work that you did and now you need to move to your next community partner, but you don't want to leave your past one hanging, you could reach out to Melissa and fill out a form with your community on the Thriving Earth Exchange website to find a community scientist who might be willing to do this for free. Like that's the benefit of the Thriving Earth Exchange's
Mhm.
program is they're finding scientists in their association who want to help communities move things forward in a short time period, but also in a way that fits the mantra and ethos of the Epic model as well. So I think that those are two ways I wanted to call out as well, but I'll turn it back over to Melissa for our next question, which is, how would you want those in the Epic network to help your work with Thriving Earth Exchange? So this reciprocal of the question I just asked.
Mhm. Well, everything I described earlier, we welcome in return. We are not the only ones doing community science by any means, and we are always interested in best practices and ways that we can improve feedback, ideas, please, everything. And Marshall, you and I with our conversations, we're doing a lot of that, but more ideas are always welcome and encouraged on the table. So Thriving Earth Exchange is a national program without very strong regional or local footprints. But we have projects all around the country and more coming online all the time. And our projects often succeed with scientists or community science fellows engaging remotely with the communities. And sometimes we can find ones that are local. We try to find ones that are local because the strongest relationships are built on that face-to-face interaction. And EPIC-N programs have that local footprint. You're based in communities, you have a central place. And one of my dreams for this would be to be able to work with EPIC-N programs to find those local scientists and community science fellows when we start up a project where they are located. So that is something I think that Marshall, you and I will work together very closely with. But EPIC-N network members are really encouraged and invited to join with the Thriving Earth Exchange as community science fellows or as community scientists to get started on these projects. You can invite members of your network to become community science fellows. It doesn't matter usually where a community science fellow is located, but sometimes we try to launch cohorts within specific geographical regions. A community science fellow isn't limited to any particular career stage or background. It's just someone with strong project management skills and a desire to see communities and scientists work together well. We're also always looking for community scientists, people who want to work with communities in this capacity as a scientist and dedicate and donate their expertise. So we have a list of projects that are currently seeking scientists on our website at any given time. And then we also maintain a community scientist network for people who are interested in us contacting them about future opportunities. So if you're open to being contacted about a potential volunteer opportunity, that's the place to sign up so that we can know to contact you. And you can hear about all those opportunities and just other things happening in the Thriving Earth Exchange network by signing up for our monthly newsletter. Again, that community scientist network is a place where we contact people about opportunities within our program and other partners that we work with too.
Great, and it looked like all the links to all those programs were in your slide that we'll be sharing with this recording. So everyone will be able to open up that slide deck and click on the links that are interesting to them to learn more. I also wanted to highlight the Community Science Fellowship program that you talked about. It sounds like anyone can kind of do that and become a volunteer program manager to support the work of a community scientist and a community partner working together, or local government partnership working together, right? So the community science fellow, when I thought about the network and what happens in our programs is there's usually one or two alumni, or not alumni, but one or two students that are involved in the program who get really, really interested, really, really excited, and might graduate and go and start a career. And those might be really, really great people, or this might be a touch point to reach out to one of those alumni to say, hey, you were so involved with this program. We want to stay in touch with you. We'd like to help increase your capacity for creating change in your local community while also staying connected with us. Have you thought of the Thriving Earth Exchange? maybe through some of your work with Thriving Earth Exchange, we could develop a future partnership in your local community with our EPIC program. But let's test it out with the Thriving Earth Exchange process of you getting set up as a community science fellow. I think that's really interesting opportunity to engage alumni of the EPIC programs who are interested and increase the relationships and networks in a regional hub. So just want to highlight that. Let's see what our next.
Yeah, the Community Science Fellowship, it's not just because I manage it, but it's been really, really cool to see the enthusiasm and kind of opportunities that have been emerging from that. It's not a small commitment. Like, we're asking people to sign up to volunteer for a 6 to 18 month project management position, but it's a really cool professional development opportunity. We've been hearing from our fellows that they don't get this kind of training or experience in other places because it's not as common as it should be yet. But we train them fully in the Thriving Earth Exchange process through a 2-week training workshop. We fly people out to be co-located so they can meet the other fellows in their cohort, and then we continue to talk to, engage, and train those fellows even beyond that. We have monthly cohort calls. We have a Slack channel or Slack community where people talk to each other and share things. And we're really working on looking at our fellows as extensions of the Thriving Earth Exchange staff in a big way. We just yesterday, our program director posted on the Slack channel about an opportunity for a fellow to attend a workshop in Los Angeles to represent Thriving Earth Exchange and talk about community science and help move the needle forward in this movement a little bit.
Really cool. And for the record, we're not asking any EPIC program managers to do that work. We're just looking to try and find other fellows to do that work because it's really meaningful and another way to improve local government outcomes and partnerships. So that's a great program. Looking forward to seeing if we can highlight or recruit to help fill that program's needs. Let's see what our next prompt is, and I think we might be nearing the end. Yes, our next prompt is just to say thank you to Melissa for taking the time to get this presentation ready, and to thank her and AGU and the Thriving Earth Exchange work to make change in local communities. If you have any questions or want to reach out to Melissa or the organization, you can use the contact information on this slide. And if you have any questions for me, of course, you can always use my contact information to get a hold of us at EPICN. Thank you so much for attending this webinar / first Friends in the Network interview with Melissa Goodwin, the project manager of Thriving Earth Exchange. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for having me.